the person who actually got the Nobel Prize called me and said, I'm accepting this in honor of you because you really deserved it. A very nice thing to do.
MAGA's already in full meltdown because their boy did not get it. But he did a peace deal with Israel and Hamas. Guys, the committee had already selected the person. Maybe next year, but your boy has to be peaceful all over the world. It can't be in some parts of the world and broker peace deals, and then you can't achieve peace in your own country and you wage war in your own country. You change the defense, the Department of Defense to the Department of War. You are a wartime person.
U.S. President Donald Trump has repeatedly said he deserves the Nobel Peace Prize and he'd like to have it. He even said that it would be an insult to the United States if he doesn't get it. What does as the chairman of the Nobel Peace Prize Committee, think of this, and how has this campaign-like activity by the president and his supporters, domestically and internationally, affected the deliberations and the thinking in the committee?
In the long history of the Nobel Peace Prize, I think this committee have seen any type of campaign, media attention. We receive thousands and thousands of letters every year of people wanting to say what for them leads to peace. This committee sits in a room filled with the portraits of all laureates, and that room is filled with both courage and integrity. So we base only our decision on the work and the will of Alfred Nobel.
Imagine being so powerful that even the world's most prestigious peace award might be within reach, and then being flat out ignored. That's exactly what just happened to Donald Trump, snubbed by the Nobel Committee in 2025, and the real story behind why will shock you. In today's video, therefore, we'll peel back the curtain, the politics, the drama, the reactions. Stay close. What they don't want you to know is coming up next.
Do you think President Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize?
Francesca Albanese deserves the Peace Prize for this year, if you ask me.
Is that a no? And in your mind, why do you think Francesca Albanese deserves it more?
She's opening our eyes, you know. She's a special rapporteur. She has all the facts, a lot of information, and she's very vocal about it. And I think that the Peace Prize should be given not just to somebody who stops the wars, but to a person who knows what's at stake. Humanity, dignity, respecting of the international law. And that's all what Francesca Albanese is doing. That's why she deserves the Nobel Peace Prize.
Donald Trump wants to win the Nobel Peace Prize.
Everyone says that I should get the Nobel Peace Prize for each one of these achievements.
But he didn't. Here's why. Despite the president's vocal campaign, this year's accolade went to Venezuelan opposition leader Maria Corina Machado. So why didn't he win? Well, the White House claimed that he got 7 nominations, but the key issue here is timing. All of those nominations have to be in before the end of January. That gave Donald Trump around 11 days in office. Unfortunately, his boasts that he'd be able to end the war didn't pan out.
We need to talk about the Nobel Peace Prize. The 2025 Nobel Peace Prize went to Maria Corina Machado for her tireless work promoting democratic rights for the people of Venezuela. As someone who studies political science and has been keeping a very close eye on the fact that the Trump administration is routinely bombing Venezuelan fishing boats and is actually preparing for regime change in Venezuela in order to get access to their oil reserves, which is 100% what is happening, this all feels very strange. Maria has publicly come out in support of Trump's strategy. She said, I totally support his strategy. I've said on behalf of the Venezuelan people that we are very grateful. I think it is the right thing to do. It's courageous, it's visionary. In response to the fishing boats being bombed, she says, I am in favor of the US dismantling this criminal structure, even though it killed Venezuelan citizens. This isn't the first time that she has asked a foreign power to invade her country. She previously asked Benjamin Netanyahu to invade her country in 2018. This is her in 2018 writing to the Prime Minister of Israel to ask them to apply their strength and influence to advance the dismantling of the criminal Venezuelan regime linked to drug trafficking and terrorism. Why is it that Maria is so pro-regime change and a foreign power invading her country? She wants to privatize their oil reserves. Why is it that Trump is so interested in Venezuela? These oil reserves.
Oh yeah, nothing to see here. Just a US president trying to bully a European country into giving him a prestigious peace prize. Really? According to a Bloomberg article out today, the country of Norway is on edge because the Nobel Peace Prize winners are about to be announced, and their worry is that if Trump isn't on that list, he's going to punish them. The article goes on to say Norway is facing pressure from Donald Trump and his administration to award him the Nobel Peace Prize. Who pressures the Nobel Committee to give them the Peace Prize? Who does that? Isn't that automatically disqualifying? One would think it would be, right? But it's entirely unclear whether they are thinking about giving him the prize. Likely not, but maybe next year. Either way, there are concerns, and again, according to this article, about, and I quote, the diplomatic and economic fallout for Norway should the president not win this prize. Norway's biggest fear is around the trade deal. They are still negotiating with the Trump administration. They are worried that if he doesn't win this prize, they are going to get hit with punitive tariffs. Norway is also worried about the possible impact on something called their sovereign wealth fund, which is worth $2 trillion, and which they're also afraid Trump is going to mess with. And the extortion racket is a family affair because Eric Trump tweeted this week, retweet if you believe Donald Trump deserves the Nobel Peace Prize, because that's how it works. It's not virtuous acts, it's just how many retweets you get. Even the official White House Twitter account is in on it. So the Nobel Prize, they do have a website. The website has a contact form, where you'll find a place where you can submit a comment. And I used it this morning to remind the committee that while possible peace in the Middle East is a wonderful thing, Donald Trump has delivered anything but peace in his own country. I reminded them that Trump is attempting to deploy the US military against its own citizens, that his ICE agents are attacking mercilessly undocumented people and ripping them away from their families. US citizens too, that he's threatening to jail his political opponents, demonizing trans people, encouraging political violence, and dividing America horribly. In fact, the list of his unpeaceful activities is literally endless.
While everyone is celebrating the fact that Maria Machado won the Nobel Peace Prize over Donald Trump like it's some victory for us here on the left in the United States, I'd like to remind y'all that this woman has dedicated the Nobel Peace Prize that she just earned to Donald Trump. I dedicate this prize to the suffering people of Venezuela and to President Trump for his decisive support of our cause. And listen, you might think she's working towards a noble cause, and I may not disagree with you on that, but this is an insane thing to do. I don't care who she is. If you want to celebrate the win of Maria Machado today, then that's fine. Totally fine. I'm not going to judge you for that. But if you're celebrating her win because she beat Trump, you probably shouldn't be doing that, because she's a big fan. Big fan.
Why, in your words, you dedicated this prize to President Trump? Why is that?
Well, because I think it's fair. I dedicated the award to the Venezuelan people and President Trump, because what he has done for not only for the region but for the world regarding freedom, democracy, and peace.
Have you been advising the Trump administration in these campaigns of restoring democracy and fighting a counter-narcotics war in the Caribbean?
No, absolutely not. I mean, this is a matter of decision and strategy and operations that are decided by every government. And in this case, it's a matter of national security, and it is President Trump who decides that.
Talk to President Trump about the way this administration is treating immigrants, including Venezuelan immigrants that don't have a safe country to go back to yet.
Look, the best way to address the protection and security of the Venezuelan people is to open the opportunity for them to come back home.
Are you worried about the way some of them have been treated, including people without a criminal record who were sent into Secot in El Salvador without evidence?
But of course, I am always concerned about any violation of human rights or extreme actions, and but I'm sure the Trump administration is as well. And at the end, Livia, you know what's going on in Venezuela? It's extraordinary, because we have realized the value of being able to live in freedom and to live in your country. And that's what we are striving for right now. And in order to do that, we do need the support of President Trump and his administration.
Finally, I know you spoke with President Trump today. What did he tell you? What did you tell him?
I thanked him. And it was a very important conversation for me because I wanted to convey, the message from the bottom of the heart of Venezuelans. And for him to be sure that we are a society committed to freedom, that we will prevail.
When the Nobel Peace Prize for 2025 was announced and the laureate was revealed, and it wasn't Donald Trump, the world paused. The choice went to Maria Corina Machado, the Venezuelan opposition leader resisting Maduro's regime, and in her acceptance, she decided the award to Trump, citing his decisive support. But the optics of that dedication only sharpened the controversy, because here lies the paradox. The person campaigning for the prize loudly, relentlessly was passed over. That's more than snub. That's a statement. Now, from Washington to Oslo, accusations flew that the Nobel Committee had put politics above peace. The White House slammed the decision, labeling the move a betrayal of the prize's mission. Some in Trump's orbit openly wondered, did the committee fear the implications of awarding someone so polarizing? Did they reject him to avoid international backlash or the appearance of partisanship? Now, the criticism isn't new. Trump had long floated the idea he deserved it, citing his role is mediating conflicts, in brokering ceasefires, in ending wars. Yet critics and analysts were ready with counter-arguments, and winning the Nobel Peace Prize is rarely about noisy campaigns. Legitimacy flows from sustained, verifiable contributions to global peace, not self-promotion. Now, in Norway, experts dismissed Trump's overt lobbying as irrelevant to the committee's deliberations, and polls suggest the broader public didn't buy his bid. One survey found 76% of Americans believed he did not deserve the Peace Prize. Now, consider this. The Nobel selection process is famously secretive. Nominations close early in the year. The committee then deliberates behind closed doors for months. Many argue that Trump's most dramatic diplomatic claims, like the recent Israel-Hamas ceasefire, may have come too late or outside the timeline that the committee considered. Even Trump seemed to acknowledge that the person who actually got the Nobel Prize called today and said, "I'm accepting this in honor of you," he told reporters. But he also admitted he didn't say, "Then give it to me," though I think she might have. Now, the twist, the laureate publicly dedicating the prize to someone she wasn't competing with, plunges the decision into layers of significance. Was it a symbolic gesture, a strategic move, a signal to both the US and Latin America? Machado herself operates under threat, barred from public office, hidden from Maduro's crackdown. She is being positioned not just as a national dissident, but as a global symbol, someone whose fight for democracy resonates internationally. That posture may have appealed more to the Nobel ethos of resisting oppression, even more than peace deals made under duress. Some commentators see deeper forces at play, a pushback against populism, a resuscitation of traditional diplomatic norms, or a subtle signal from global institutions that prestige cannot be purchased or claimed. In sidelining Trump, the Nobel Committee may be reinforcing its independence, making a statement about the boundaries of power and influence. Meanwhile, Trump's global tour is already underway. He's not to visit the Middle East, present himself as peacemaker in Israel, Egypt, to leverage the ceasefire announcement as proof of his role on the world stage. But power is multifaceted. A prize doesn't make peace, but it crowns narratives. The snub paints Trump not just as an outsider denied, but as someone whose ambition outran the institutions that dole out legitimacy. And legitimacy perhaps is the final battleground. So what does this teach us? That no matter how loud the campaign, no matter how grand the deal, recognition on the world stage still obeys its own rules. The Nobel Committee may have said no, not because Trump lacked ambition or supporters, but because the story they preferred to honor was one of resistance, of grassroots democracy, of symbolic struggle over diplomatic spectacle, and that decision will echo far beyond Oslo.